Welcome to the Founder Series on the GoodVibes Podcast, where we go behind the brand to uncover the story, the values, and the vision that shape today's wellness leaders. Today, we're joined by Dr. Tiffany Kristensen, founder of Vibe Herbs, a GVL-incubated wellness brand, who is informed by years of clinical experience at Vibe Acupuncture and Holistic Healing, and a deeply personal transformation. Long before she was helping patients reconnect with their bodies through traditional Chinese medicine, she was a young mother navigating disempowerment, burnout, and the decision to take back control of her future. This episode explores what happens when that decision turns into a calling and how reclaiming your power becomes the foundation for helping others do the same. Dr. Kristensen, let's start at the beginning. You've said your interest in wellness really began when you were 19. What was happening at that point in your life?
But I think I was pretty asleep in life, just, waking up, doing the same thing every day. And just, it's not a super interesting story, but I came across a man who was eating some food and he said it was organic. And I'm like, what does organic mean? And at that point, I had been to an acupuncturist one time, I remember. And just to give you an idea, she told me to eat more greens. So I went to the store and I got a can of green beans, like canned food. And I thought I was doing what she said. So that led me to start shopping at Whole Foods after I had met this man. And there was a book section. I started buying books on juicing and I found it really interesting and, started learning about tea and herbs. And so it was a slippery slope from there.
Okay. So even early on, you were witnessing the connection between food, lifestyle, and healing paired with emotional presence and care. That planted the seed that eventually took root. So years later, your divorce, it became, if I understand correctly, a major inflection point, not just personally, but professionally. What changed for you in that moment?
So up until that, I got married really young and I think I divorced around 24. And at that point, I had been living his life, not mine. And he traveled a lot, so I just go wherever he was working. And I almost felt like an assistant. And I started to realize that nothing was mine, not even the money in the bank account. And so I just started to feel lost. And so when we finally divorced, I was like, I need to do something because I don't ever want to be put in this position again. I don't ever want to feel like nothing is mine and my life is not mine. And I had such an interest in holistic healing and I saw that acupuncture was on the rise. And so I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. I thought it was going to be a 2-year, degree or something. And then I found out I needed a bachelor's to get into school and that was going to be another 4 years on top of that. So that was a rude awakening for me, being that I had never been the best student when I was in high school. I had to start back at remedial math, which is basically high school level math. But I just took it one day at a time and I had finally found my purpose and I finally knew this is what I want to do. And just, a few years later, I get my associate's degree. A few years from that, I get my bachelor's. I had to take some step backs sometimes when life got a little rough, but I kept going back and I kept going back. And sometimes I would take a semester off and people are like, she's not going to go back. She's quit everything up until this point. And it's true. I quit real estate school. I tried to build a website and nothing. I had not follow through with anything up until that point. So I just kept going one foot in front of the other. Took me 8 years, took about 11 years to graduate with children and having, children during that time, but I did it.
That's awesome. It's one thing to know you need change. It's another to actually build it. That shift from reaction to reinvention became a defining moment. Eventually, that led you to traditional Chinese medicine, not just as a career, but as a lens through which you saw everything differently. What drew you in?
Well, like I said, it was one of those fields of medicine that I thought was growing. I'd seen it work on different people. I actually, I forgot to mention when I was married, I was living with an acupuncturist. Her sister came from Mexico. It was two sisters. One of them had cancer, and the other one was an acupuncturist. She was an MD acupuncturist. And so I saw that she wasn't getting side effects from the chemo she was having. And she had started doing acupuncture on me for free because, we were letting her live with us for free. And so then I just started to learn about it and I became fascinated with it. And it was just awesome to see how wonderful the medicine was.
And that approach, the prevention first, whole person healing, is now deeply embedded in your clinical work and will soon form Vibe Herbs as well. You've said that that connection is one of the most important aspects of your work. What values guide how you show up for your patients?
So in my clinic, it's not, we treat the whole person, right? And so if you go to a Western medicine doctor, if 5 people go in for a headache, they're all going to get the same medication. In Chinese medicine, it's about patterns and what led up to the headache per se, and different signs, whether it's the shape of your tongue, the color of your tongue, where the headache's at, whether you feel like, hey, don't touch my headache, or you feel like pressing on your headache. That's going to tell us something that's going on more internally. We were going to ask, your bowel movement, the shape of your bowel, and do you feel thirsty or do you not feel thirsty? Those are key signs. Back in, thousands of years ago, we didn't have lots of lab tests. So this is the way they did it, and they were pretty spot on. So that is something that I love about Chinese medicine. Also, I like to dive in deep with the psychosomatic of what's going on with that person and that patient, because people don't realize how much their thoughts and their traumas, their stress levels affect their health, and being able to explain that to them in a very scientific way, not in a way where they're just like, okay, that sounds like woo woo. I actually have done a lot of research and a lot of studies on the biochemical processes that are happening in the body during trauma and stress. And so when I explain it in a scientific way, they can relate to it. And so then my goal is to get them not only to feel better, but to be happier in life. And that's one of the biggest things that I love to do is help people to learn to be happy and learn how their thoughts affect their health.
Yeah, it's clearly more than just a style of care. It's obviously a philosophy, one that actually sets the stage for what's coming next. Before founding your clinic and before stepping into this new venture, you lived an entirely different life. What was that version of you like?
I think that version of me was a bit lost and just trying to find her way. Like I said, in high school, I wasn't the best student, and then I was just ready to be done. And it wasn't until I found meditation that I was able to be guided to a higher purpose. I had always started things, I never finished, and it just felt like I was living somebody else's life and not my own. But once I found Chinese medicine, I just knew there was no going back. And honestly, the school aspect part, the struggle, the being, a single broke student mom was the hard part of my life. And I had to get really innovative sometimes, like by renting out 2 bedrooms in my house and sleeping in the smallest bedroom in my house, finding odd jobs, Ubering, Airbnb-ing it. I was very creative. And I feel like those were key in being able to become an entrepreneur. And now I feel like I'm retired because I show up to work every day and I don't feel like it's work. It's amazing. I don't count down the days to where I don't have to work. I might switch to like a beach and work by a beach, maybe, but I think I could do this job for the rest of my life. And the hard part was just being a student and getting through that for 11 years.
It's not just a founder story, it's a full evolution. And that's what makes your voice so vital in today's wellness landscape. Dr. Tiffany Kristensen, thank you for sharing this first chapter. It's not just the backstory of a brand, it's the blueprint of a transformation. In episode 2, we'll dive into Vibe Herbs, what inspired its creation, what sets it apart, and how it's positioned to bring clinical wisdom into the modern wellness market. Until next time, stay strong, stay sharp, stay aligned, and keep up the good vibes.